Psalm 139. So I really like reading through the Psalm of David. He talked about God, but I wonder how he know all these things about God. Um, like for example, he understand that God knows everything about him, and before that there was a word on his tongue that God knows it. And I guess that is from teachings that God is omniscient and God knows everything. So from that knowledge I think he infers this. And I think, and he referred to knowledge, so maybe there is passed on knowledge at that point, like similar to how we believe that God is omniscient and omnipresent and omnipotent nowadays. So right here, that God is everywhere is omniscient, or no, the first one is omniscient. Omnipresent is the second paragraph here, that everywhere he goes God is already there. But this part I'm not sure where he got that from, that even darkness is not dark to you and the night is as bright as the day. I wonder where he got that from, and the fact that darkness and light are alike to God. Maybe just from inference that because God can do all things and is above all things, that he can see through darkness, that he wouldn't be blinded by the darkness like we do. That sounds like a reasonable inference, but I wonder if there's more background to that knowledge. And then God created David's innermost part, wove me in my mother's womb. And we know that DNA is kind of like a strand. It looks kind of like knitted, kind of like woven. And that DNA knowledge was definitely not seen in David's time, yet he used that word. So it either is inspired or they knew something about that during that time that maybe was lost through history. That when he was made in secret, that God's eye have seen his formless substance, and in God's book were written all the days that were ordained for me. And again, that question of where did David get this knowledge from, that is, I would love to know that God wrote all of our lives in a book. Does that mean it's predetermined, or does that mean like the major events are there but we get to choose like the path that we live on? Or does it mean that even though we get to choose, God have seen it all, as if because he is outside time and space, it's pretty much like a person playing a game and is able to see all of the paths and of the gameplay. I'm not sure if that's a great analogy, but I wonder where he got that inspiration to write those words down. And then again, he knows that God's thoughts for him are precious. And like I guess back then my view of them is, oh, they view God as kind of like a judge. If you're bad, God will judge you. If you're good and follow God's law, then God will bless you. But then David took a very personal approach to this. He knows that God's thoughts for him are good. And that is really true to what I'm being taught in church, that God looks, and when I read the Bible, I feel the same way. I feel like God is kind of like a loving father smiling down at us, wanting to bless us, wanting to give us the best things, and like just wanting to smile at us, and seeing us delights him, as if a loving father delight in his children. And so David has this very personal relationship with God, where he knows knows that God thinks about him in a good way and very precious way. And I can't think this passage really resonate with me, that if only you would put the wicked to death. It's like, and David even said that he hates the people who hate God with a passionate hatred, like a loathing, with the utmost hatred. And even though the New Biblical Bible or the New Testament tell us that we need to love our neighbor and bless those who persecute us, there are people who are like really evil and who really who hates the name of God, who blaspheme against God, and who like murder and does really nasty thing. And so they are really wicked, and so David is saying he hates them, those who are that wicked like that. But then again, in the New Testament, it reminds us that we don't know the destination of a person. We don't know if they're going to hell or if they're going to heaven. Even if they are extremely wicked, even if they kill multiple people, there is still a chance of them repenting, and God is still working in them while they are breathing. And so if God is still giving them a chance, who are we to say, oh, we hate them and like they're wicked and they're not gonna be saved, And so this passage like made me reflect that sometimes I look at a person and I feel like they're wicked and they're against God and I don't want to have anything to do with them. But the truth is that they're still breathing, God is still working, and I might see them in heaven if they repent of their sin and truly turn to God for salvation. And so I think verse 23 and on is very true, that not only do we need to search our own heart, but ask God to search our heart. And then it's kind of scary to ask God to put you to the test, because that can be like a Job moment. But I wouldn't say that for myself, but I do want God to search me and like gently let me know where I need to correct. And I hope that everyone have a tender heart to heed to God's correction and not fight against it. And obviously asking God to lead us in the everlasting way is the way to go.